All right. Ludovic Klein took out Mason Jones. That was really impressive. He just looked better every step of the way. He was able to, he was the better fighter, too, the better athlete, too, where he was able to throw hard strikes for 15 minutes. And they were clean and sharp. And he carried power with him at that weight. And Mason Jones, who was supposed to be bigger, badder, and better, I think I said, sorry, he had nothing for Klein. And Klein almost knocked him dead in round two. That was fucking awesome. Just a big win for Ludovic Klein here. You know, it's not like we knew Mason Jones that well, but this was a big win in a lot of ways. Short notice fight, moving up on weight, and he was a big underdog. And on top of all of that, it was a shutout. So, really cool moment. Who do we have? Mark Giacchese, or Diacchese, I think everybody's calling him now, versus Damir Hadzovic. I like this one. It worked out for me betting-wise. One of the only fights that did. Mark Giacchese via decision. Damir Hadzovic, he was just... He was outclassed pretty much everywhere. And Giacchese's a guy that, he's able to bully fighters with his physicality and athleticism. And like somebody said in the commentary, he's using that wrestling-wise instead of using it, striking-wise. He's using all of his athletic gifts to win using grappling tactics. And it produces boring fights, but I can't blame him. That was a case of a guy scoring a shutout. It was on Hadzovic to make something happen. Give your back. I don't know. I wouldn't give him my back. I'd ride out a 30-27 loss, but still. At least Hadzovic wasn't complaining like Chris Curtis, but can't blame Giacchese. Charles Rosa showed a lot of game, a lot of toughness, but he was outclassed by Nathaniel Wood. Fight went pretty much how I expected it to go. I did come close to that Charles Rosa submission round one at 20-1 odds. I thought that was fucking crazy, and in the end he had that Darce, I think. And man, was that close. That really was close, and the lock was never broken either. I think time just ran out. And I really wish they had more time to work with that. Or he had more time to work with that. But Nathaniel Wood looked great. Just so much sharper. And, maybe it was in my head. I don't know how to measure it. I can't tell you who hits harder than whom. But I thought Nathaniel Wood looked good at this weight class, at featherweight here. And I did expect him to look good just technically because Charles Rosa is a technical mess. But he looked like he had some power, too. He was busting Charles up. Charles Rosa's got heart for days, but technically, he's a guy that doesn't belong in the UFC. And it took me a while to realize this, But he doesn't. He's a gamer, and he could give a lot of guys hell. A lot of much better fighters. And he could submit a lot of great fighters, too. Like Manny Bermudez and whatever. But that's it. He was proven he doesn't belong in the UFC. It was proven. And, he's a sloppy mess. And just optically, doesn't make for a great scene watching Charles Rosa fight like that. He looked like a guy that didn't belong, in my opinion. Maquanomir, Connie, and Jonathan Pierce. This fight went about how I thought it would go. I thought Amir Connie would win via submission round one, and I bet the hell out of it. But Jonathan Pierce taking over and pounding him out was option two. And I had a lot of faith in both of those outcomes. And Jonathan Pierce is just the bigger dog. And he's a much better fighter than I think a lot of people gave him credit for. When he arrived at the UFC, he had that ugly loss against Joe Lauzon. Good performance on the Contender Series before that. And then since then, he's just looked incredible since the Lauzon loss. And that was just a case of Joe Lauzon putting all of his eggs in one basket and saying, I'm Joe Lauzon and I'm meant to be a round one beast. And he poured it on. He was able to take Jonathan Pierce out. But, if Pierce was able to survive that ground and pound where he had his arm trapped and it was such an ugly scene for him, but if he was able to weather that storm and the ref didn't stop it, I'm thinking Pierce gets a late finish in that fight too. This is a guy who's come into his own. He's had some shitty losses too by first round submission earlier in his career. 6 years ago or so, whatever, 5 years ago. And now here he is, and he's taken out really good fighters in the UFC, and he's taken them out in all similar fashion. Most of them in similar fashion, where it's a little dicey early on, and then Jonathan Pierce is too well-rounded and too relentless, and he pours it on and gets the win. Really cool win for him. Amir Connie, I think that's it. You know, can't hang around forever. Who do we got? Charles Johnson versus Muhammad Mokaev. It was a good performance for Mokaev. Not great. Not going to win too many fans like that, but he was up against a savvy veteran who's never been finished. So I liked the decision going into this fight. I thought there was value on Charles Johnson too to school Mokaev, but Mokaev, he's very seasoned, about as seasoned as a 21-year-old can get, and his wrestling was there for him every minute of that fight. So good win, but not a great win, and on we move. Jai Herbert versus Kyle Nelson. This was a good fight. Not great. I wanted to see a little more action from Kyle Nelson, but I thought, and Jai Herbert too, I thought he could have let his hands go a little more in the feet, but that's a guy that's probably got a lot of reservations about his chin. So, good enough. He outpointed Kyle Nelson, and on we move. Victoria Leonardo took out Mandy Bohm. She was just the bully in there. The bully. She was able to smother Mandy against the cage, and Mandy, frankly, was just too weak to battle with her. She reversed positions and whatever, and yada yada, but the story of the fight at the end of it was she lost that fight being smothered, and not on the ground either. So good performance from Victoria Leonardo, but that's not going to win too many fans either. And the first fight of the night, Nicholas Dalby took over the fight and took out Claudio Silva. Interesting fight, scoring-wise and whatever. I have to remember if he reversed position at the end of round 1, because I know round 1 he sat in the mount for a while, but Claudio Silva wasn't able to make anything happen. He threatened with some arm triangles and whatever, and the moment passed, Nicholas Dalby hit a reversal, and that was pretty much it. Nicholas Dalby was, not that he was perfect for the rest of the fight, but he was indomitable, and Claudio Silva wasn't able to smother him, let alone submit him. And Nicholas Dalby, the younger, fresher fighter, he was the better athlete for the last 10 minutes of that fight. So, good performance overall from Dalby. That's, not exactly a highlight of his career, but it's a nice feather in his cap. And those were the prelims. I thought this was a good card overall, but the event itself kind of lackluster. Really turned to shit from the beginning. I thought the main card was better, despite the co-main event and the disaster of a main event. Seeing Patty and Molly win like that was awesome. But yeah, the prelims started off very shittily, and so this one wasn't one to remember. So thank me for documenting it. All right, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that horseshit, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow with the preview for UFC 277.